Meeting come to order. Dr. Versa.
Yes, happy July 12th to everyone. Thank you for being here at this work session. I'd like to introduce Dr. Adriana Garcia. She's going to lead us in the invitation and then lead us in our pledge of allegiance.
Please bow your heads. Let us reflect on how best to serve the students and staff of Southwest ISD. Allow us to work together well, to listen and to respect each other's talents and skills, and to be watchful and mindful of the responsibilities we hold. May we rejoice in the privilege of watching our students grow into enlightened citizens of the community, and may we maintain focus on the dreams and aspirations of those we serve. In your name we pray. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia.
Sir.
All right, we've had a special request from the superintendent to go into executive session first. So under Texas Government 551.001-551.146, we're going to go into executive session. All right, we come back into regular session. It's 12:01, and we go to superintendent's recommendation on personnel.
I move we approve the superintendent's recommendation. On personnel.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and we have a second on section 551074.
I move that the board approve the compromise settlement agreement full and final release of all claims in the transportation employee discussed in executive session and authorize the superintendent to sign all documents necessary to effectuate the agreement.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions? Need a motion.
I move.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Motion carried.
I thought you had already done that.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
We did that. We did
I might have.
We really approved that.
That's double approved then. All right, going back to the agenda, and we go to items of information and revenue source.
Yes, sir.
Brandon has found $4 or $5 million.
We're working on it, sir. Just trying to give y'all an update of the calendar and some of the events that have occurred so far. We published the actual two notices, the high notice and the low notice, in the paper on July 6th. Moving forward, today's presentation will be pretty brief. It'll be more of a question and answer session for you guys. I have Mr. John Walsh here with me, so he'll say a few words in a minute, and then we'll open it up if you guys have questions. But looking at the calendar, the actual election, I know at the top it says August 27th. It's actually September 10th. I apologize, I didn't change the title. But at the next board meeting next week on July 19th, we'll have a public hearing to go over the tax rate. And the actual board meeting after that, we'll have the effective tax rate and the rollback rate, which we have to adopt, and then the 2016 proposed tax rate, and then the order for the election for September 10th. We will have Bexar County. If the board decides to move forward with it, we'll run the election for us similar to what we've had with our board elections. And then after that, there's still a little process for publishing the notice for the election, and then we have early voting scheduled for September 26th. August 26th through September 6th. 24th through 6th. I apologize. I'm all over the place there. And then the actual election running on September 10th.
Are those elections going to be held only here, or we're going to?
The early election will be here, and then we'll use the sites for the actual election day. So early election will be, we kept it similar to what we did with our board elections, so we stay the same.
This will probably be our first one. We'll add a site. So we'll
Okay.
get the sites back and
Yeah.
that's the next board meeting.
I'm still working with Bexar County on what we want to do, and so that's what we want to do. I'm going to kind of turn it over to Mr. Walsh so he can say a few words. And then if you have questions and answers, it's not going to be ready today. I'm going to show it next time.
Good lunch, board. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. The penny swap that we're doing is going to generate an additional $4 million at the same rate we would have had we not done the swap. Now, the district is issuing an additional $20 million of the bonds. It's the final piece of the bond election approved in 2012. At that time, you told the voters that the rate to pay the debt would go possibly up to 44, but with this final issuance, 43.3 pennies will cover it, okay? Now, that is an increase from last year. Last year, your debt rate was 37.49. We're talking about a 43.3, so it's a 5.81 cent increase. It's not due to the penny swap. It's due to the issuance of the final amount of debt that was approved back in 2012. Now, that $20 million that we're issuing, and you'll issue it this Thursday, $13.1 million is for renovations to Southwest High School and for the Southwest ISD Technology Server Building, $1.2 million for new school buses, and $5.7 million for new instructional technology upgrades. So it's well needed. It's going to be a great benefit to your students. And we're swapping off of a total rate of 147.3, because if you weren't doing the swap, you would be 104 and 43.3 for a total rate of 147.3. Now, if we do the swap, on the additional 13 M&O pennies that we get, the state's going to give us another $130. So we'll collect $100 locally. The state will give us another $130. So we're making $230. We'll be able to spend $230 on our kids. It only costs us $100 in local taxes. And the grand total of all that money is $4 million. And the way we've structured the tax rate, in order to make sure we can pay that debt, we actually post a high rate of 117 plus the full debt rate, which is actually 160.3. But we will not have that rate. If the voters don't approve it, we'll be at 147.3. If the voters approve it, we'll be at 147.3, because that's when we kick that debt rate down from 43.3 to 33. And we get $4 million. In other words, if they turn it down, they're kissing $4 million goodbye. And if they say yes, we get $4 million. That sounds too good to be true, but the state gives us so much more money for M&O pennies than it does debt pennies. This is a smart way to structure the tax rate. The good news is, one other piece of good news I hadn't told you about, I told Brandon about it today, is we're not losing any state debt aid. The state has two programs that we benefit from: instructional facilities allotment and existing debt allotment. And even though we're cutting that debt rate 13 pennies, we're not going to lose any state debt aid. So we're keeping all of our state debt aid, and we're adding the $4 million additional M&O aid. So I have to call it a win-win, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Anybody?
So the address is this last Wednesday, correct?
Yes, last Wednesday, July 6th, and then that was to publish that we're holding a public hearing. So next Tuesday, we'll have a public hearing to review this again with the board and the public, and then adopt the tax rate actually at the board meeting. How
are we going to educate our community with regards to this come election time? Do we have a plan for that, or?
We're in the beginning of that. We're creating videos, and then we'll be meeting with PR to kind of get a schedule. We've looked at schedules of when we have Meet the Dragons and things like where we can kind of go out and get the information out to them.
Are we gonna do signage like a bond? Or are we just gonna talk to people at meetings?
We haven't discussed that far yet.
Okay.
And we,
Where are we holding the meeting?
the public hearing will be here next Tuesday before the board meeting.
Oh, I thought it was a meeting out there.
No, it'll be here for the public hearing here and then at the actual board meeting, right before the board meeting.
The video that we're preparing, there was a version of it that I showed the last time I was here. It wasn't your district, but it was the same symbols that are going to be in this one. It's really a set of icons that go along with what you say. But it's going to be ready. We had to add this language about why the bond rate, why the total rate's higher. So it's still in development. I'm probably going to have it tomorrow. It can be posted on your website. So in addition to hearing it and seeing it at the public meetings or town hall meetings that you're going to have, anybody that can get to your website will be able to view that, and it cuts out a lot of the technical stuff that I put you through.
That would be very valuable.
Yeah. And so,
And it just gets to the bottom line.
Yeah.
If you approve it, you make 4 million. If you don't, the tax rate's the same and you make 0.
and so at the public hearing, I'll have it ready to show. And so we'll see at the public hearing and then review if there's any questions and answers that you guys still have and go from there.
And we will have a schedule going out to all the new school events that are coming up, things like that, to present the information. As far as creating signage, I think we're going to have to get some direction from John and
Yeah.
what
What we,
Vote yes,
we
or,
can do.
Well, anything that's,
We have to present factual information.
yeah, we
right.
can present factual information only. We can do a lot of that, but we
Right.
can't put out signs
Yes or
that say
no.
vote for
yeah.
or vote against. So if a PAC group wanted to organize, register,
So we'll start,
identify a treasurer and a chairman and register with the superintendent secretary, then they could spend money, but it's not school money they're spending, okay? All right.
any more questions?
How much information you gonna put on the website?
Well, we're going to put the actual video on the website, and we'll put kind of like a rundown of what he just went through and some facts on the website. So
You
we can get
do
a dedicated
Q&A.
page.
You can do a PowerPoint in addition to the video. We'll develop all that. This is really launching the rocket, and then
you get the,
we want to concentrate the education of the voter around the beginning of school time up to the time of the election on
Yeah.
September 10th, because that's when they're receptive
listening.
and preparing.
only 3 weeks,
They're
I
focused
think.
on schools.
Isn't
It's
it
not
only
that
3
far
weeks?
away.
What to start? Yeah, we'll have about 3 weeks, but once we get it,
Sylvester just mentioned it, that we need to realize that less is better. That might not sound correct, but there's so much confusion that can be brought into this if you look at it in a lot of detail. And really, it's $4
It's a
million
very simple
out there if you
proposition,
want
and
it.
that will be our focus on
Well, I would
communication.
posit, not necessarily less, but simpler, because I did mention it to a voter recently, like, oh, we can make more money without actually taxing you more, and this voter was like,
Yeah.
well, explain that to me. How can you make that happen? I mean, how does that work?
Well, the easy answer is,
Because-
they pay us more for M&O pennies.
Right,
than
that's what I'm
Deb-
saying. I couldn't
Yeah.
explain it at that
Yeah.
point, because I remembered what you said, but I really didn't remember what you said. So
I
was
I
like,
think when
oh.
you see the video, and then we'll give you some
Yeah.
literature that we could pass out and get the video out,
Simple verbiage.
it'll make it a lot easier.
Okay.
Right now, you can actually get on some websites that have done this, and they have the video, and it made me understand a lot better as well. But we'll come up with a plan for that, working with PR, and but maybe at the next brown bag, bring it back to show you what we're going to do before we roll it out to.
I think we're really ahead of the curve here. I know that Mr. Walsh is the keynote speaker at the Equity Center convention, gathering in Austin pretty soon. So there's going to be a lot of other districts exploring opportunities to increase the revenue side, and this is a viable opportunity that's allowed underneath the statute and system and structure that we go by ISD. So I think we're basically in front of a line that's going to be created here in the near future.
Southwest ISD is a pioneer among the larger districts. Nobody's done it in quite a while in Bear County, and none of the larger districts have done it. I consider you one of the larger, more prestigious districts, and I think
So
some
do
of your
we.
neighbors will follow your lead.
Thank you, John.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, moving right along, school bus transportation.
Yeah, I got Mr. Bozio here. He's going to share with you some of the route things that we've gone through because of opening of Resnick. And so he's going to update you on some of the routing and some of the potential changes that may happen next year for the 17-18 when we open up the Legacy High School. And also with him, he has Mr. Smartwood, who is handles a bus safety program that the district is considering. We'd like the board to see that today, just so you can kind of see what we're looking to in the future. So I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Bozio.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The two things, again, bus route updates, and essentially the city of San Antonio passed an ordinance in the past month regarding people illegally passing stopped school buses, and that's what Mr. Swartwood is going to talk a little bit about as well. So since we started talking about redistricting, we are still trying to hold the line on a number of routes that we run. We're going to see an expansion of 2 routes in special needs because it's just an ever-growing animal, if you will, constantly growing. So we're going to see 2 there, but we're trying to hold the line on the regular routes because we anticipate seeing some growth with Legacy High School opening up. The middle schools, which are at the centerpiece of our programs, are broken down as follows. We have 11 buses, no change to Scobie. That's what was there. That's what's going back, and that's barring any increased student loads that come in there into the neighborhoods. There are currently 15 buses supporting McAuliffe Middle School. That will not change in the current year. Then we have Resnick and we have McNair. McNair last year had 27. Clearly, Resnick was not operational. This year, we're going to see potentially a breakdown of 13 and 13 buses to serve each one of those middle schools. So that's how the breakdown is looking. There will be some potential shifting as time passes. We have our eyes to the future when Esperanza begins to open, they will open their first units in September, and they are opening one building of 14 every 2 weeks following thereon. And there's a potential for 250 some odd students to come out of those buildings right now.
And those, to tell them those are the apartments at Palo Alto.
Those are the apartments at Palo Alto. Okay, that's a 14 building complex, and they're going to have, again, 257. And our main concern is really going to be the middle school and the high school and transporting it. At our current loads right now, our buses are pretty close to max. So we may have to put in another bus, depending on the growth this year, but definitely next year, as those things come to as they full up in their capacity. And the other issue in light of our buses is we have the Rosemont Apartments, 6200 Pearsall, right above McAuliffe. Yes, McAuliffe. They have a sidewalk. They put a sidewalk in, a continuous sidewalk from the apartment front door to McAuliffe. We are going to recommend at the beginning of this year, for your edification, to the intent to cease bus transportation to that apartment complex. But we will present that to you first to allow you to weigh in on that. Pardon? It's from the front driveway to the front door of McAuliffe. It's 0.8 miles. It's within really the cessation deals with the 2-mile radius. And because there is what we consider a safe passage from the school to the home and vice versa, we will ask the board to weigh in and say, let's reallocate our resources. Let those kids walk and have our buses service, hopefully to take up some of the load in other areas in the district.
There's a sidewalk, sure, is it along the access road of Fort Tyler?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, and this is just a preliminary, and this wouldn't be going to effect to 17-18, but we're going to have to look at ways for our resources when we open the new high school. And if we can make it happen, we would keep it, but we need to just kind of get it in the board's mind that potentially this could be a place where we would have a bus that we can pull back and
Well, we
use.
need to have conversations,
Yes,
definitely.
and that's what
about
this,
that specific
and
area.
this is a year out, so we wanted to give you this
Yeah.
ahead of time,
Yeah.
and as time goes on,
Because as a mom, I'm already jittery. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, the highway is
We are
something.
too. We've had this conversation with senior staff. The other issue that we have to contend with is equity, because we don't do it everywhere else. And so, if we want to establish this issue of equity, that, we have students in other attendance zones, maybe being along an access road is one of those, but
Yeah.
the idea is that we cannot not talk about it.
Right, we
We
gotta
want to
talk
bring
about
it up to the board, we want to have that conversation, give direction, kind of frame our recommendation, bring it in the future. But we want to do it a year out, so everyone we have the time to dialogue, and then we have the time for notification. And we also have the time to see if we're creating an inequity by not continuing with the issue.
So not for this school year, you're saying for next school year?
Correct.
Okay, got
And we
it.
already have a lot of walkers in that area, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But again, it takes one bus there. Right now, if you want, the situation is such that if we take those approximately 30 kids off the bus that is servicing them, there's growth still down in the Indian Creek, Hidden Cove area. You still see homes, more kids coming outside the doors. And we'll be able to reallocate, based on your approval, that bus to picking up other kids.
And it's just,
It's just one bus?
yes.
At this time, yes, ma'am.
It's not a new bus.
Well,
No, sir, it's not an additional.
it's an existing right now.
It's en route.
But we'll need probably, when we open the new high school, we're gonna need some buses. And so we're just trying to plan out and give you guys some feedback on what we're looking at and go from there.
It's always a sensitive issue.
It is a sensitive issue.
It always is. We just want to make sure we have dialogue and direction, then we'll go back and bring the data that the board requests and have a conversation. But it's very sensitive, and we never want to put our kids in harm's way. At the same time, we don't want to create inequities and ignore them. They kind of fester, they become something else down the road too.
Any other questions?
So the second point is the cities of San Antonio's ordinance on violators of stopped school buses with their lights deployed. We've been talking to Mr. Swartwood for the better part of a year, and probably longer than that. He represents a company that is going to essentially he's proposing equipping our buses with equipment that will increase the safety, enhance the safety of our kids getting on and off the bus. As you know, the most dangerous part of a kid's ride on a school bus is getting on and off of it. And as such, the city has seen the light and has now made it an ordinance, $300 fine for violators of that. And there are companies out there that are proposing equipping school buses for that purpose. Mr. Swartwood represents one of those companies and is, in my opinion, is offering the best deal. And I won't steal any of his thunder, but I will allow you to hear what he has to say about it. I think it's a great deal and does a wonderful job in improving safety measures for our kids. Mr. Swartwood?
Thank you, Board, Superintendent. So I think the biggest takeaway today is there's hundreds of drivers illegally passing school buses and endangering the lives of thousands of children every week here at Southwest ISD. When implemented, our child safety program has proven to lower the propensity of those violations by up to 23% a year, and then 16% year after year after that. Our tests show that the same people pass these buses every single day, but if you issue them a ticket, we have never issued a ticket to the same motorist twice. But we see them passing it over and over again. I recently said that, and I still say that, but the superintendent of Dallas County Schools came up to me and said, well, look, that's not true. And I said, I think that is true. And he said, well, we've had incidents where they haven't received a ticket in the mail, and they've done it again. So I preface that with, they've never received a ticket and then violate after that. We're currently working with about 50 school districts in the state of Texas, and we're at different stages of implementation. Here in San Antonio, really, we're working with most of the districts that serve the city of San Antonio. Judson ISD has signed an interlocal agreement. We are currently loading 100% of their fleet as we speak. South San Antonio, we've got board approval there and are going to be signing an interlocal agreement shortly, as well as Northeast ISD. We're working with East Central. Matter of fact, after this, I've got a presentation for that district. We're working with San Antonio ISD, Northside ISD, Harlandale. I'm probably forgetting a few.
What kind of agreement did you call
Interlocal agreement. So in Dallas, every single day we monitor, we call, in our world, an event is a bus that stops, stop arm is deployed. That's what we consider an event. Every day in Dallas we monitor 20,000 events. We're going to be setting up a local review and processing center here in San Antonio. Matter of fact, we just signed a lease for that. So that will be done, all San Antonio districts will be done locally here.
You want to share with them what you're actually putting on the buses?
Yeah. As far as process, our system is really not only an exterior camera system. It's really an overall student safety program. So we've got 7 cameras mounted on the outside of a bus, and we call that the traffic manager. And that's what takes video and still images of people passing those buses. We've got 4 interior cameras, 1 over the driver well, 1 in the middle, 1 in the rear. We've actually got a camera that is forward-facing, which is great for accident recreation. And we have a rear-facing camera that we originally coined the pedophile camera, just in case a student was abducted off a bus. We use it more now for rear-end collisions and trying to recreate those events. We've got real-time GPS that pings every 3 seconds. So transportation will be able to log in and see exactly where your bus is at any given time, and can tell the speed of that bus and actually watch that bus drive down the street from his computer. We've got 2-way voice over IP. Currently, the district uses radios. The limitations of that 2-way voice over IP is it's stationary, but we are able to communicate with that driver if we need to. Mentioned the rear-facing camera. We've got a silent alarm that the driver can press that can be routed wherever the district wants it to be routed. Currently, we can have it alert the transportation director of the police department on their cell phone, and they can then remote in and react and take action to whatever's happening there on the bus and view live. We've got 2 terabytes of storage on the bus locally, so we've got 20 days of archived video that we can access. Our system can integrate with routing software. Currently, the district uses TransFinder. We are working with TransFinder to create a bridge between our system and your current routing system. We have our own VPN, so none of this information travels over public networks. It's our own private network to keep the data secure. This system comes 100% free to the district, and when I say 100% free, you will never get a bill from us for anything, not printing, not collections, 0. It's 100% free. We also install 100% of your buses. We'll install them on your spare buses just in case a regular route bus goes offline. A system is there to protect the kids, and we do them on special ed buses as well. So we provide transportation department all the training they need. Currently, we have 3 service techs here in San Antonio that service the buses. We have an extensive PSA campaign. A lot of that is working with the city and we've started that process, but we also have a ton of material for Twitter page, Facebook page, website. We'll meet with stakeholders, we'll do town hall meetings. We've got a ton of material as it relates to educating. And finally, our program is headcount neutral to the district. You do not have to hire people to administer this program. You don't have to create additional spots. We literally do it all. So,
Where's your money come from?
so it's a violator-funded program. We receive 60% of the revenue that's generated from the citations, and the district, normally the district would receive 20%, but the city of San Antonio just passed the ordinance. They don't want income, so the district would actually receive 40% of the revenue from this program.
And y'all will put the equipment on at no cost for us?
No cost.
So what does it happen? The camera shows somebody passing us, and you send them a letter saying you're fined like you would for a stop light, and then they send you the money? Is that what?
Yeah, so that we have reviewers that initially review that, and that's a big difference between, we're not in the red light camera business. Polling show red light cameras are very unpopular, opposite for us, but somebody reviews that video every day, then it's sent to a processor who gets all the registered owner's information, validates, yes, this is a citation, and then sends it on to law enforcement to make that final decision.
Law enforcement is who?
So that could be 3 people. It could be the city PD, which they have elected not to do that. It could be the school district PD, if in fact they want to do that. Or it could be Dallas County Schools has created a police department, and they can review and approve. But then the city of San Antonio said that they want another layer of review, which will probably be retired police officers from San Antonio that will ultimately make that decision.
And they're gonna implement that department? The city's gonna implement that department?
We are going to implement.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Stop.
It's incumbent upon us. The city is not,
Ticket that goes on their driving record?
does not go on your driving record. It's a civil citation. Civil citation. The ultimate recourse is collection.
Okay.
So it goes on your credit report?
City of San Antonio, that's up for interpretation right now. They have said they don't want it to go on the credit report. So, and I'm asked very frequently, and I talked to the superintendent about this. What's our collection rate? It differs everywhere in Texas, but what stays consistent is it reduces the propensity of these violations by 23% a year. So while the collection rate differs, the reduction in violations stays the same because they might not be able to pay for that citation, but they will never pass a school bus again. And that's important.
Yeah, it is. Go crazy.
So the amount of the citation is what they would pay if the city won?
City? No, it's less. It's $300. So if an officer catches you, it's set by the court. It could be up to a $1,200 fine.
And are we gonna have signs on the bus, or how are they gonna know we're fine?
We do put stickers on the back of the bus that say this is being
What
monitored.
happens if it's the board president?
I think he just got told he doesn't have to pay the fine.
He gets a picture. One in the front of his truck and one
I'm gonna
on the
leave that
back.
one alone.
Do not disturb.
We can put him to work so he can work it off.
Work it off.
Yeah.
So in our earlier conversation with Mr. Smart, we we asked, we have about 100 bus fleet, if it was possible, we brought this item to our board, thinking it's a no-brainer, we want to create safer environments for our kids. And we're not even looking at the generated revenue side. That if we brought for approval at the next board meeting, that if they could have our 100 buses ready for the start of school, and we did affirm that that is possible. So that's why we wanted him to present this at this work session today, in case you had additional questions.
I have a question. So all of the video that's being captured on the bus, the inside of the bus too, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So do we have access to that if we have an issue on one of our buses?
That's a great question. We're not in the business of monitoring the inside of the bus. So the interior cameras, Mr. Boggio's department can log into his computer, into our secure site, put 8 o'clock to 8:15, I want video from these cameras. And then when the bus turns on, let's say he did that at 12 o'clock noon, and the bus turns on for his afternoon route, it'll start downloading that video and will alert Mr. Baggio, hey, your video's done, and he'll be able to click the link and save it locally.
That's really good.
No, I mean, when we have kids and being
I've been on those N buses. It's not a pretty sight.
They throw those hot dogs back at you.
The other issue is that we could even set up for our law enforcement to have a live view going on in the event that there's something happening. So that's also
Yes, sir.
that we currently don't have. And every bus with GPS, we don't have that now. So there's a lot of advantages.
Sounds good.
We could stop maintaining our own cameras at that point then?
We talked about that. The recommendation from Mr. Boggio is to keep both sets right now until we get familiar
Yeah.
with one, and it's better to have that duplicity right now.
Would those cameras be running, including times when we use the buses for traveling for like athletics and stuff?
Anytime that bus turns on, the system's activated. And matter of fact, after the bus turns off, the system will continue to run for 5 to 7 minutes.
Good
We
point.
also started the conversation along with something that Sergeant Lopez asked before about the availability of Wi-Fi for our students, and they are also at that exploration stage with the company as well. So we're going to continue that conversation.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next thing on the agenda is energy conservation.
Yes, sir. This is a continuation of the conversation that they started with the
Go ahead, thank you. I thought you left it.
They presented some information, much like you heard from Mr. Walsh about we pay X amount of dollars, and if you continue to pay X amount of dollars, you can get these type of upgrades, green buildings, use your savings to pay for those enhancements in the building. And so we continue to have the dialogue, and we ask you to come back with more specific information about showing us how that cost savings and that whole opportunity works itself. And so I'd like to turn it over to your ABM and let you guys continue that conversation with our board.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, board members. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm Mike Reese. I'm joined by Dan Callahan and Jonathan Blackwell. If you recall, Jerry Roy and I were here about a month ago and presented some of the findings we had from our preliminary study we did. As part of that discussion, we were tasked with coming up with some more details and specific questions that were asked of that today. So Jonathan is going to walk you through a brief presentation to hopefully address some of those things, and then we really want to get to the Q&A portion of it at the end to allow you guys to answer, ask questions, and go from there. So I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan.
Thank you
He's gonna
very
walk
much,
through
Mike.
this.
I'm going to fly through the first dozen slides, because I think you guys have seen them 2 or 3 times thus far. You guys know who we are. You guys know what we do. We look for energy savings with school districts, and we look to use those savings or the wasted energy usage as the funding mechanism as per Texas Education Code 44.901. You guys have seen what we looked at thus far, opportunities. Now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this, and that's how we're going to achieve these savings. And the way that we're going to achieve these savings is by taking out old technology, just like I did in my house last week, It wasn't self-funding, so I had to pay for it, a new AC system. But we're going to take out old technology and we're going to put in new technology. So we're going to take out old lights that use a lot of energy and put in LEDs that use less. We're going to optimize your current energy management system and make sure that the entire district is optimized in the same manner to give you guys the best control possible. We're going to take out old HVAC, once again like I did, my wallet still hurts, and put in higher SEER, higher efficiency units that use less energy. We're going to do some building envelope improvements that go from chalking windows and doors to plugging leaks in your buildings that let out air. It's kind of like, having your window open and the AC blowing at the house. I yell at my kids gently when they do that, and we can stop that. Green IT optimization. That's a very deep conversation, but IT uses a lot of energy. Computers use a lot of energy. Print processes use a lot of energy, and these are things that we assess. And then lastly, blue is the new green, so we look at water conservation technologies. And what you get here is you have this pie from the EPA that shows just your percentage of usage in the K through 12 facility. We're just looking to take money that you're already spending and reducing that and using those savings that all this new great stuff will deliver as the funding mechanism that we have to guarantee. So it's not our rule that we guarantee it, it's a state code that mandates that if you guys do a project through 44.901, we, the ESCO, we have to guarantee that you achieve these savings. So if we're saying that you're going to save $700,000 a year in utility cost, and you guys save $699,999, we owe you $1. If you guys only save $300,000, well, we owe you $400,000. So we have some information on occasions where we've had to write a check. We've had 3 occasions in the past 10 years. Yeah, might have said 20. Our executive VP gave us that data yesterday. So I'll give those to you. You can follow up and talk to them. One of them, it happened so long ago, some of the original staff that was there for the project may not be there, but I'll fill you in on those details, but we have that information. But that's the benefit. There's no risk to the school district. We assume the risk with you. We're not looking to do a project and go away. We're looking to do a project and ensure that it performs. In the example I'm going to show you, there's a lot of lines, it's a lot of data. It may be really hard to see on this screen, to be honest, now that I'm looking at the way we're set up. But with the example we are going to share with you, there's positive cash flow, which means that the benefits that you're going to have on an annual basis are far greater than what your principal and interest payment would be with a tax-exempt lease purchase. And so by doing this project, you're actually creating a revenue source. And based upon your S&P rated AA negative credit that Dan was able to inform me on yesterday, you guys can get some really low interest rates right now. We're working with 2 right now that will have interest rates below 2%. And the other one is just around 2. So it's very cheap money. The recent Brexit is not hurting that, so it's keeping rates low. Refinance if you need to your house. But that's I think I touched on everything on the financial benefits analysis. So, God, this is going to be hard to see. That's impossible to see, isn't it? It's tough.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so on your left, you have savings columns. Everything from utility savings, which in this example, we're showing a 25% reduction of your $3.1 million utility spend. So 25% savings is $775,000. We're looking at O&M savings. That's a guesstimated number of around $75,000 a year. Replacement funds, that's around $61,000 a year. And then there's utility rebates, which you'll get one. We're going through the rebate process with Isleta ISD right now. Their first phase of rebates is going to be, I think, around $200,000. That's a pretty good-sized check that they're going to get because we're going to reduce your kilowatts. So by reducing your KWs, ERCOT will pay you $240 per kilowatt reduced. So there's some other benefits that aren't even in here yet that are still to be determined, as are the miscellaneous savings of the green IT, as I mentioned. So your total benefit in this example, year 1, and there's 15 lines. On year 1, your total benefit is just over $900,000 a year. So that's great, but we got to use some of that money because we have to pay for the project annually, right? We do it all up front. First payment's deferred for a year. Your first payment would be $631,000 based upon this financial modeling, and you're creating excess cash of $270,000 with this financial model. So we're generating savings, a whole big pool of money with new technologies. You got to use that pool to pay for the money, and whatever's left over is yours. It's not a shared savings program. And what we have to guarantee is that you're achieving the stated savings on an annual basis, that the savings are always greater than the cost. That's how the process works. That's why states have enacted such legislation, so a district would not have to utilize capital to make these improvements.
What is the amount of the loan?
This example, over the life of the equipment of 15 years, the total cost to the school district would be $9.4 million. The total benefit is 16. So in this financial example, and this is preliminary, upon being fortunate enough to move forward to the investment grade audit, that's where we have everything solidified, third-party engineered, reviewed, and that's where we state, here's what the guarantee is gonna be. This is conservative right here. But you're gonna get $16 million, you're gonna spend 9.4 of it, you'll have $6.7 million left over. And that's after having brand new equipment put in, lighting, HVAC, the school buses. That's an awesome program that gentleman was talking about. That's stuff that we can fund as well with positive cash flow. We could put Wi-Fi on buses. You guys have long bus routes, some long bus routes. Imagine if you're...
That guy's doing it for nothing.
What's that?
He's doing it for nothing.
Well, very, very true. Well,
Not the Wi-Fi, but he's...
not the Wi-Fi. So that we can't do. But that's a great idea. I mean, I loved hearing what he had to say. As a parent, it's important. But we could put Wi-Fi in the buses. We can make other upgrades throughout the district that need to be made without the district having to use capital.
And I think that's a good, Mr. Sell, that's a good point. We talked about doing it for nothing. We're taking money you're already spending with the utility company and diverting it into this project. So in essence, you're already spending this money.
But over 15-year time you're talking about getting a loan, there's going to be other things going to happen. Technology's going to just get better and everything else.
Right, and we...
Chiller go out, unit go out, and you figure out replace it.
Sure. So most of the things we are talking about have a 15-year, a lot of the LED lighting will have a 15 or 20-year warranty. So again, this is preliminary. We're working with the district right now that said, hey, we want to keep it under 12 or 13 years. So we can set up the financial model that way, any way you feel comfortable. 15 years is a common term because it allows, that's what the code will let you do, 15 to 20 years. And it allows you to create more capital to invest in your buildings now. If you guys come to us and say, we're really more comfortable with the 12-year payback, sure, we can readjust these. You're probably not going to have as much positive cash flow at the end of the day, but we can work in that scenario as well.
Do you have something to say?
Yeah, I just have a question, because I'm still not real clear on how it works. So you come in and you say, okay, all these schools need new HVAC systems, and all these things need to be done. It's going to cost $3 million. And then you're going to go, and where does that $3 million come from? Where are you going to get that money?
Right, so we will go help you guys actually find traditionally a tax-exempt lease option. There's lots of different financing options for these. Right now, some of the districts we're working with are actually getting like Jonathan mentioned, below 2% rates. So we will actually help you facilitate that. We are not a bank. We are not on the money side of it. We can recommend and help you guys go out and look for those things. We have consultants we work with. But at the end of the day, you guys will go out and look for that option for financing, and we guarantee that each year when you make that payment, in this case, Jonathan, it was $631,000, we guarantee that you will save that much in energy or more to
So,
pay for that.
don't get that for you. I'm still at borrowing the money.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you borrow the money, you borrow it some way. We go and put it in all these buildings. Who puts it in?
So we do a lot of that work ourselves. We also work with local subcontractors you may already have a relationship with. We project manage the whole thing.
So we paying for it?
Yes, sir.
So is that $3 million plus installation?
No, that's a turnkey project.
That
That's everything.
includes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it does.
Cost of money,
Installation.
third-party review, installation, project management. We build in what we call measurement and verification, so that each year on a quarterly, biannual, annual basis, whatever that may be, we come back and true up the bills to make
Go
sure
into
our
cash
savings.
run.
I'm sorry, sir?
Still going a little too fast for me. Okay, so it's installed, it's $3 million installed. And now, what you're saying is that that's so good that we will save in utility cost and maybe rebates, $750,000 a year, correct?
Correct. In this model, we were actually projecting over 900,000 a
That's
year.
what you budgeted. Before you had said 750, right?
Yeah, we're just using an example, right?
Okay. You don't know what the real numbers are. Okay, now, how do you know that is 750,000?
That's 25% reduction of your current 3.1 utility spend for water, gas, and electric. We achieve a lot greater than that on a consistent basis. So by us stating 25%, we feel, just with our experience, we've been doing this for a very long time, we feel comfortable stating that number of 25% savings.
We did the,
But that's just an estimate, you don't.
well, when we came and did a preliminary audit, and we looked at a group of about 8 to 10 buildings. We reviewed all your utility bills as part of that, and our engineering staff looks at that, and we say, do you think, is 20% a good estimate? And we're very conservative, because we don't want to come in and tell you it's going to be $900,000 a year in savings, and when we finish the IGA, find out we're only like half that. So 25% is a very conservative estimate based upon your utility bills, the preliminary audit, and we walked the buildings and saw the lighting opportunities, the HVAC opportunities.
This isn't
out there.
an example until you get to the next phase.
Right. Now, we feel very confident with this within about a 5 to 10% range. Traditionally, usually we're very close in this. The next step would be to do the investment grade audit, and we would probably have engineers here, boots on the ground, 60 to 90 days, going and detailing all the specific things. That's when you would build the scope of work. We're going to be replacing this rooftop package unit with a 21 SEER unit, and that's going to drive X amount of savings. So that's the next step to come, would really be fine, and that's when we're actually would sit down and say, here's the guarantee, here's what we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we say we can save you X amount per year, and we guarantee that.
And how do you determine what the savings are? I mean, I know you just said it's 25%, but in real life, how do you determine?
Yep, great question. So there's lots of different measures, it's called measurement and verification. So different energy conservation measures, and by ECMs we mean lighting is an ECM, more efficient chiller is an ECM, and some are very big and some are very small. Lighting, for instance, we would look at your run rate, your burn rate. How often are these lights? You guys are open 200 and X days a year. That campus is open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You have, on average, 20 athletic events that maybe they run an extra 5 hours. And so in that case, it's really a calculation of how many fixtures we're putting in and taking out. This may have been a 40-watt fixture, and we're putting in the new LED technology, which runs probably a quarter of that from a kilowatt perspective. So lighting, it's really a measurement of your run rate versus the new technology and how more efficient it is. SEER is very, Jonathan mentioned the SEER. Well, if you're running that air conditioning X amount of days per year, a 21 SEER is going to perform at twice the efficiency as something operating in a 6 to 10 range.
It's kind of like someone giving you a guarantee on the miles per gallon you're going to achieve on your car, and if you don't achieve those, they're going to pay you the difference in the extra gas you spend.
Miles a gallon per gallon is easy to calculate.
But what if you drive no fast?
It depends on how. Get the pedal to the metal, don't worry.
What, okay, so we have this agreement with you, but what if we, okay, do you tell us what our thermostats are supposed to be set at?
No, we're going to...
Is there a way for us to do something that would void your guarantee to pay us?
If you're running the schools, and it's a phenomenal question, if you're running the schools for 24 hours a day, but you only need to for maybe 12 to 14, even on the long end, well, we can't be responsible for that kind of, I would call it negligence, for letting it run 24 hours a day. It'd be like the car manufacturer not being able to guarantee the miles per gallon if someone went to sleep and put the brake on the gas pedal, right? So we set parameters with you. We're not here to tell you how long to run your schools. It's not a behavioral program, it's a technology program. So newer technology will be the driver for the savings. We will tell you, we'll put in data loggers and we'll tell you that you guys are running this school, this campus right here for 16 hours a day. Even in the summer, you only need to run it for maybe 12 hours a day. You're using an extra 4 hours per day times 365. and here's how we can help you control that. And that's the system we would look to deploy, and we would collaborate with Mr. Kruger. We don't manufacture a product, so we can put the best that's in the market into your schools, but also what's best here locally for your schools.
Is this a year-to-year contract you guys, or what?
Well, being that there's the wording in the agreement with the tax exempt lease purchase, non-appropriation of funds, that's what makes it not a debt, because this will not impact your debt or bond rating. It is an annual agreement. We're paid up front. As the project goes on, we're paid. And then we're here on an annual basis to do the measurement and verification. And that could be quarterly, biannually, it's determined upon the complexity of the scope of work. But your question is great also about the $3 million, just using that example for the cost of the project. One thing we like to do is not have any change orders, so we don't have them. Our process is very collaborative, so we don't come in here and state, you need this color of light bulb and this type of HVAC and this kind of controls, and we're going to take everything out. It's a very collaborative process. Okay, what do you have right now that works well? What kind of equipment do you like that you can get parts for easily or maintenance on? What kind of lighting do you like? And we have these workshops where we come in and we show you the different technologies. We show you the different routes you can go with deploying some of these improvements. So it's a very collaborative process.
So back to my question. So say we do have a facility that maybe we forgot to turn something off or whatever. Is there a way for us to void our agreement?
No.
Like, can you say, well, that school spent, you were negligent at that school, so we're not gonna make up that difference?
So we'll set, you talked about the parameters, hey, that's something you guys tell us, and we will actually then design the program around that. And we'll show you, hey, if you want to allow your teachers to have the air conditioning at 65 degrees, here's the impact of the program. If you say a fair range is 68 to 73, here's the impact of your program. So that's something that we don't tell you that. We will show you the results of what happens when you make those decisions. The only way that I've ever seen, if you have a substantial change to a building operating, so if you had a elementary school that ran 200 days a year and it ran from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and now you make it a learning center that runs 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, that's a pretty substantial change into what we made, right? We're making assumptions on operating hours and things of that nature. We would come back to the table with you and say, we need to readjust the baseline, do something that's fair. But if you're running a gym because you have basketball that evening and that wasn't accounted for in the schedule, obviously nothing to that minutia, we would come back and say, well, we're not going to guarantee that. So something big and substantial as far as the change, the intent of a building, we would want to come back and proactively have a discussion about it. We don't ever want to come back to a district and say, well, we're not going to honor the guarantee now because you ran the office 2 extra days or whatever that may be.
One of the things too, Mike, that we're talking about, we have new systems coming on, new buildings coming on next year. So in this process, so that we can see that if we did something like this, is the cost savings actually there, and does that go towards paying? Do you do it by building, or do you do it?
Right, so we'll review so obviously, we really aren't going to look at a brand new campus because you guys have put newer technology and all those kind of things. So we'll actually look at the bills. Each of your buildings is probably metered individually, I would assume. Maybe you have a campus where you have several meters, but traditionally each campus has its own electric, gas, water meters. So that's how when we break that out in the baseline.
You don't do it based on the actual cost.
So we're
Bills and look at the cost.
yes, sir. So what we're doing is looking at consumption. So at the end of the day, which then we translate into dollars. So if you're...
I know you translate it, but are they real dollars?
Yes, sir. Yes. They're dollars you're sending to your utility providers right now, gas, electric, and water.
So our utility bill should be $750,000 less at the end of the year for the same work.
Correct.
So you're gonna break out the two campuses from
Yeah,
that
those would
baseline?
again, I doubt there'd be anything that we're going to offer that's, you don't want to go into a building you just built and say we're going to change the lighting out. So yeah, those would be broken out different on the baseline calculation.
Like Mike just said, we just finished the phase 1 investment grade audit for Saletta ISD, where we went through 20 of their 60 campuses. And some of the schools are newer, they're only maybe 5 years old, so there's not a lot of stuff to touch with. Everything's a line item from, okay, maybe it's lighting, maybe it's HVAC, maybe it's just not included in the program.
You're right, and it would actually hurt the payback for us and you guys if we did include newer schools, because there's not much to do. It's not gonna generate any savings. It's like having a 2015 car, and you go to buy 2016 to get better, gas mileage. You're really not gonna get it, because it's already pretty good to begin with. It was great to begin with. And everything needs to be third-party validated by an independent engineer, a licensed engineer here in Texas.
What about schools that, let's say we have schools that we just replace our technology or systems, I don't know,
Okay.
we just not.
We'll look,
Schools,
right.
or it depends on, let's say it's an older school, but we replaced it.
Done a lighting replacement maybe or something like that. So we'll look at each individual building, and we may not do lighting on campus because you've done lighting there. We may do package units there because you have HVAC equipment that is 10 years or older. We may, so each building will have, it's not cookie cutter. So that's all determined in the investment grade audit, where we bring the engineers on site, and we are going through each building and detailing out what the plan is, what the payback will be, what the cost will be for all those different, ECMs. So you're right, some buildings, you may do lighting in 75% of your campuses, but not 25% because maybe you have second generation T8s and the payback isn't quite there compared to first or T12 technology. So
Now-
each building will look at all the different ECMs that we can do.
It's not clear to me yet how you get your money.
Yes, sir. So we are paid almost like a construction project. When we go in and do a project at substantial points along the way, when we've done the lighting, we've done those things, we will actually get paid from the loan that you've taken out. And then you will not begin repayment traditionally for those for a year into the project.
So we realize the
how we're
savings
paid.
first.
Right.
You're able to build up a bankroll of cash from the savings.
Right.
And then come a year from closing on the financial documents, then your first principal and interest payment is due. And by that time, you've recognized the savings, and that bankroll of cash is there, and you've benefited from all the new stuff.
How much do you get?
So we're a publicly traded company. We are a 7 to 9% bottom line company. It's kind of on average is our fee. So if you look at the overall project, that's kind of where we're going to fall out.
On the loan, too, it's important to point out, like, we're setting up master leases that we kind of do things with, so it's basically an open line of credit, and you're not paying interest only on what you're drawing on. So
Tax exempt, by the way, 100%.
Yeah, so you got a $10 million loan, but the first phase, we're only spending $2 million. You're not paying interest on the other eight, only on what you're using.
And traditionally, we're going to want to focus on lighting first, because that usually drives the quickest savings. So you guys are realizing that positive cash flow the quickest. And obviously, these projects are dependent upon school schedules, so.
Is that a fixed interest rate for 15 years?
It is, yes.
And there's, again, we're not in the banking business, but we.
The government will be able to get us a loan or not.
Oh, we can, based upon your credit's very good.
That's not gonna be a problem.
No, not at
If I
all.
got a co-sign, that's not a problem.
Sir?
8 to 10% of the loan amount?
8%.
The project amount, not the positive cash flow, but so when we go out and say it's $8 million worth of project, that is what we're doing. We're acting it's almost like a construction project. Yes, sir.
But yeah, it's not shared savings. All that savings that you see, that goes back to the school district. We don't take any of that.
Yeah, but we're paying you something.
Yes, sir.
That's
So,
correct.
In effect, it comes out of
Exactly. Yes, it does.
The major difference is we're taking on a lot of risk. We're guaranteeing it. So when you build you do design build or build a building, there's no guarantee of savings will pay for it. We're taking the risk in the fact that there's no change order. So if we come to you and say, here's the final IGA, here's what the project looks like, and the price of copper goes up 50%, or there's a hurricane that pulls contractors to a different part of the region, that's ours. We don't come back to you and say, hey, by the way, I need a change order because of these things. So that there's a
So
risk.
is there any escalation in your rates over time?
No, sir.
No, there's not.
Don't assume any inflation?
No.
No,
No, we're paid up front as a construction project.
Okay.
So we're not being paid over 15 years.
I just have one more question.
Yes, sir.
How do you justify charging us for this, whatever, investment grade audit, which is really an estimate? How do you
Well-
justify that?
So right now, we've given you an estimate. There is no charge for the preliminary audit we've done. The next step is a 2 to 3 month step of bringing in a lot of resources. And what we want to make sure is that you're committed to the project. The part of that is, we're not in the, we don't want to be a report writer. We don't want to come in and write reports for people that show them a path to these savings and programs, and they sit on a shelf and nothing ever happens. So what we have is, there's a lot of cost in us doing that, right? Engineers on site, things of that nature.
Third-party engineers.
We have to have a third-party engineer review that and make sure it's.
Well, if you are estimating anything, you've got engineers.
Well, this is not an estimate. This is, we are giving you cold, hard numbers that says, here's what the program will be.
It may be, but if I'm offering a lump sum estimate, it is an estimate, that's what the money's gonna be. I don't see how there's any difference here.
Yeah, well,
You're just calling it something else, but it is an estimate.
right, well, this is not,
What you've done so far is a guess. What you wanna do is an estimate.
right.
And I don't understand why you would charge us for it. I don't know anybody else who gets charged by somebody who's giving them an estimate.
Right, so we're, first I want to clarify, we're not charging you if we move forward with the program. So if we say it's going to cost us, and quite frankly, a lot of the places we do this, our cost to do these programs far exceed what we call as a walkaway fee. So what, the key to this is that we mutually define some, I think, things up front. You would like a program that is 15 or 14 or 13 years or less, that addresses lighting, HVAC, other things that you may have as hot buttons, and we would like to have some positive cash flow. And our risk is we're going to go out and spend all this engineering time and resources to do that.
Yeah, I know, I understand.
So,
I understand, and I
Yes, sir.
know that every company, every business does that. I just don't know how y'all get away with charging your customer, but that's all right. That's your business model.
and I've done probably up close to 40 or 45 of these projects. I've never had a customer have to pay us for investment grade audit. And the key to that is to have clearly defined goals up front. We have milestones along the way, so that if we get 2 weeks into this and we find out there's something weird we discovered and we really don't think we can deliver the savings that we projected to you, we would walk away and you wouldn't notice anything. So what we're asking is that if we're going to invest all these resources and time, that you guys think it's a viable project and we want to move forward.
Your competitors also charge for that.
Yes, sir. We charge probably about a third. And again, we don't charge you for the IGA. If we move, that's actually the blueprint that's rolled into the project.
But our cost of the IGA is about 2/3 less than what our competitors do,
But-
because it's just their way of going to market. We go to market differently. Ours traditionally will cover our third-party engineering cost that's completely outside of ABM, but none of the other inside costs. So that's why
Right.
Mike was saying it's a loss leader for us, but our theory is this: if we come to you and state via Texas Education Code 44.901, we can show you that we can do this great project for you, get you all this great stuff that normally you guys need to pay capital for, but we can use your savings. And we're going to guarantee these savings. We don't know why a school board would say, let's not do this.
How many schools y'all working for?
We've done about 200 projects in the last 4 years nationwide. We're currently working with about 6 or 7 districts here in Texas. Yes, sir.
So in Texas, Harris County Department of Education, Hitchcock, Liberty, Edgewood up in Dallas, Isletta's ongoing, and then just as the gentleman with the bus technology alluded to, there's a lot more in progress as well. And outside of Texas, I mean, we have, yeah, yeah, okay.
But I want to go, Mr. Prime, you had a great question. So what I don't want to do is have the walkaway fee be an obstacle. Because at the end of the day, again, all the projects I've done, we've moved forward with the project because we defined clear goals. I don't want that to be an objection because it really, at the end of the day, you don't pay that number. So I'm more than happy, and I'll talk with our leadership that we can come up with something that's agreeable and is not something that would scare you away from it. I don't want that to be an obstacle because really, you know, the IGA has to be built. There's cost of engineers being here. But traditionally, I'll give you an example. We're working with a district right outside of Dallas right now. And, you know, we're there probably 60 days. We probably have $20,000, $30,000 in cost. We negotiate with them. We said, look, let's make the walkaway fee about $8,000. We don't want that to be an obstacle. And we're willing to work with you on that as well.
Yeah, we truly believe you guys have a great project here. A lot of inefficiencies, but that means we can capitalize on them. We wouldn't want to walk into an opportunity where we're going to put ourselves in a situation where we're going to have to write a check, where there's going to be issues. And so, no, we truly believe that there is a phenomenal project to do here. And contingent upon how the term is structured, there could be positive cash flow to do some really good things throughout the district outside of the lighting and HVAC and controls, which will be the driving factor for the savings.
All right, thank you.
So two things.
Do we have any other questions that anybody would like to ask?
You said that the interest rate was 2%, is that right?
So I'm using the example of the district we're working with in the Dallas area. They are at 1.98% and 2.07%. They're choosing between those two numbers.
So in our cost savings, are you including the amount that
Yes.
we are paying?
Yep.
That interest is in
Everything,
there.
cost of money, everything is rolled into that financial cash flow you see.
And I believe, I need to go back and look at my native file. I believe I put that at 3%, just to, under promise and over deliver. But your S&P rating is very, very good. As good, if not better, than lower rates we've achieved for other entities. So, yeah,
Board
it's.
members, do we have other questions? All right, guys, we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thomas?
What? Okay, Thomas?
Just so you all know, the legacy and resident, from meeting with these guys, what we've done and put into legacy and resident, I don't see them ever needing to go to that point right now, because we have the new LED lighting
Yeah.
and new technology and invested into those buildings that are already built. So y'all were asking about legacy and resident being pulled out, I don't think there'd be any reason to not be able to look at those.
So we're already saving the 25%.
Yeah, we've done what we can with technology that's out there now on these two new buildings. I think it would be more what they're looking at for these other stuff. But we've also done, Indian Creek, Big Country, and Scobie had done that second tier T8 about 7 years ago. So that will depend on what the numbers are. We have done some upgrades.
Thomas, you talked to these gentlemen, you know more about it than we do, I assume. So I would expect that part of the superintendent's recommendation would be your recommendation as well. Is that fair? I know he really includes your thoughts as well. I just want to make sure that you know we want your.
Yeah, no. And I think I've got questions, maybe not necessarily for right now, but I can talk to them and get some other things answered.
All right, what's your one more thing?
We would like to invite the board on a field trip to go see residents. We do have a temporary zero, of course, we're going to get third trip. Are you all available one day next week?
You available for cripples?
I am too. And we have a board meeting next week. Yeah.
Would like to do it this week?
You do it whenever you, I mean, I'd like to go, but if you can do it next week and it works better, I can go by myself.
How about the last Tuesday?
I'm fine if you
Yes, I can do that.
give them to send us an email. If you send her, if she sends us a text, I'll miss it because I don't know how to do text.
Is that a brown bag or no, you said July?
Well, I can do those.
So next
I just can't spell.
Both of us. You may want to make sure we let everybody know that both Keith and I won't be here.
Good thought. Keith and Ida will not be here for the board meeting. Is everybody else going to be here?
Next Tuesday?
Oh, we have fun when you're not here.
I feel like I got a fever now.
We'll have 4 then. We'll go ahead.
Oh, we need to have a.
Anything else?
We're going to schedule that, resident field trip last Tuesday in July. We'll meet for lunch here at 11 o'clock.
We have to have at least 5 to vote yes on it. This text will read next Tuesday. No.
The last two, the 26th.
Anything else? Yes, sir, Brandon.
Next Tuesday, because the law for the tax, law, you will need at least 5 board members in the board. So I don't know how many.
Yeah.
Be fine.
All will be here.
Yeah, we'll be here.
If y'all do anything drastic next week, can you call me and tell me so I know what to tell people when they call me?
Just start hiding. You know
Oh, it's
that,
happened before.
you know where that thick brush is down in the bottom of your place? You better set up residence there.
If something happens, I need to know, because when my phone blows up, I'm like, what?
All right, anything else? All right, we're adjourned at 1:17.